Hello and a very warm welcome to this special. We are looking ahead to the match coming up tonight between India and Canada. But India was stunned in their opening encounter against France. They were beaten comprehensively 5-4 by France. And not just that, it was a hat-trick from the French captain, Timothy Clement. And at one point, India were trailing 2-5. There were 2 goals that India then scored, but it was too little, too late. And what were the reasons behind it? What actually went wrong? What was it that India could have done right? We have a lineup, a panel here, and we'll talk to them about all of that. There is Romeo James in the studio who joins us on the show. There is Sandeep Mishra, our News 9 editor. We also have V. Bhaskaran, who joins us from Chennai, and Jude Felix from Bangalore. Let me begin with Romeo straight away. Stunned at one point. Before the match started, we were talking about how good India have been. They've practiced with the senior side, but completely blown away by the opposition.
Yeah, you're right. Basically, we could have started better, controlled the ball better. They got early goals, so they got early goals. So even then, if they got early goals, we have been training together for long, and you should have confidence in each other, in your players, in your colleagues, and all that we can get through. And they got 2-2 before the first quarter finished off. They got 2-2.
Yeah.
Again, they were playing at a different. They could have slowed down and played to a different pace.
Yeah,
Okay.
which was my next question, Sandeep, that when you have a team that's playing that kind of pace and you know that you're, 2 goals down, shouldn't India have then slowed things down? Just sort of, make sure that they rotate the ball, just get into their positions instead of just trying to match them pace-wise.
I think you're probably going to hear this word shocked and surprised and, all of that. But you also have to understand that the French team they're not... they just haven't come into this tournament to make up the numbers. You look at their past history and everything, they are a pretty solid side. And the other thing that everybody needs to understand is they have a very good process in France. At the junior level, at the league level, they are very, very good out there. Their teams are in the European League. So, one has to understand it from that particular parallel that comes in. But yeah, I mean, when you know it's breakneck speed for the opposition, the normal thing for any hockey team, and Bhaskaran and Jude and Romeo can, correct me, is probably to completely kill the pace. So that those guys are not going to enter your striking circle and they have to then rush for the ball. Here we were giving away the ball because we were doing most of the mistakes.
Yeah. Mr. Felix, you said that this team was good enough to pose a competition to the best teams in the senior World Cup, but things completely turned around in the first game itself. What are your first reactions to how India played against France?
Very, very disappointing, I must say. I managed to watch the games. If you see the first goal, Vivek was literally standing and watching the guy slap the ball in. You can't be watching the game, and very, very disappointing. And sorry, I'm going to be very hard, and I don't know how many people like it, don't like it, but I don't care. But it's the same story as the senior team. You take the ball and just slap it in and hope for something to happen. So that's why you're giving the ball away. The juniors have also started to play like that. If you notice the number of times that they took the ball and just slapped it in. That's not hockey. If you watch the French team, they built up all the moves. They built the moves. They didn't give the ball away. They strung passes together, and they got their goals. It wasn't all fluke goals that they got. They dictated the games, whereas India was just hitting the ball from the right, center, left. The only thing that they did was hitting the ball in and hoping for something to happen. If you do that, nothing happens. Once in a way, you're lucky to get a penalty corner or so, but then. Nothing happens, and then you're giving the ball away to them, and then they again, attacking back at you. So that's what they did. Very slow, ball speed was very slow. Everything was bad. I mean, see, we can say India may go on to win the World Cup. I mean, that's good for the sport. But having trained for so long and having the best of facilities and everything, they should have been prepared at every detail going into this match.
Mr. Bhaskaran, and the contrast was to be seen in the two captains. You had Vivek Sagar Prasad and Timothy Clement, and the difference that they had made in terms of, you know, just how they were playing, the way Clement was playing and the way Vivek Sagar was. You realized right from the beginning that, you know, Indians were completely blown away.
Well, first of all, I'd like to endorse Jude's view. And secondly, I'd like to say on yesterday's, actually, it's quite easy to have a postmortem, but nevertheless, this is not a postmortem, but I would feel that most of the Indian players, including the coaches, did not understand much about France game because they thought, you know, it was like, you know, people have played against Netherlands. Most of the players have played against Germany or maybe against England. But I think none of our players thought that France could topple them in the first 10 minutes. The match was gone in first 10 minutes. They're so too soft. I mean, you can't have a training for 1 year and trying to say that we don't know France. But hockey is the same. You can't be keep on telling that, you know, we played very softly. But if you're playing softly, then you should play school hockey. You're playing for a nation. And all the 4 goals, I would say that I think it's a conceding of school level goals. As Jyoti rightly said, we are man watching. Look at the goalkeeper of France. Almost 4 goals he saved in the last 4 minutes. Look at the 2 goal line save of the captain. He scored a hat-trick. He was in the game. Vivek Sagar came into the hockey only after about 3rd quarter. I think more or less, you know, the feeders were not doing the job. The forwards are not doing the job. Of course, entire team was not doing the job because they thought, you know, okay, France there, you know, but they all, I think, must have gone by name. Surely, not by the performance of the players in the ground.
Right.
In fact, this shows that, you know, the match goes on. The reading of the opponent should become first. Then the game has to follow. They never read the players at all, even after the first quarter.
Which
In the
is
second quarter, there's a, you know,
go ahead.
The second quarter had a lot of time, a lot of time for both the coaches or the staff to talk about how to go about it. Rather than getting the equalizer, 3 quarter is good enough if you can come back into normal game and lift yourself up and try to challenge each move because the moves were quite airy. The passes were very slow. You know, they didn't have, at least they say in olden days, oh, pass mein jaan nahi hai. You know, that's what I could see yesterday. There was about even the 10 meters pass were not quite good.
Right.
So I think they have to, you know, bug up in these areas. You know, nevertheless, you know, we lost a match against. Okay, we fought last 4 minutes. We got 2 goals and, you know, 4 goals, 4-5. But I think we need to wake up quite hard and strong. As I said, anybody say anything, but you are playing for the country. Okay, so we have to, you know, buck up yourself. Played almost 1.5 years together. I think there's no excuse at all in the next game to come.
Right. Jude, the fact that this is a World Cup, no team is going to be easy. France has a good domestic structure. We saw what France did in Delhi, you know, in the World Cup, Junior World Cup. Did you feel that maybe the coaching staff was caught unawares? Like they just did not realize that France could be this good?
No, it's not about France being good. See, you're talking about France being good. I would say you are twice better than France, but you just didn't play hockey. That's my point. I mean, all teams come well prepared, but there's no doubt in my mind that this team, with so much of training, they should have just blown them away. It's not about them. It's about you. You know, how good are you? So we were not up to the mark. Simple as that. We did not play. Now, who asked you to play well in the last 10 minutes? This is the same old story. This is the coaching staff has to take the blame. You got to be right, like Australia. The moment the whistle is blown, they're all over you, and they keep that same momentum right to the end of the match.
So
Mike,
yeah, go ahead.
No one asked you to play very well in the last 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and put all the pressure and get the last 2 goals and came close to it. and then we say, oh, we ran short of time, otherwise we would have equalized. What did he do from the beginning? So that's the point, and so all in all, it was very, very, very disappointing to know that having such quality players, and I've worked in France for 3 years, and I know their structure is not something great. They have, with whatever little they have, they make the most of it, and that's what is shocking to know, when they've got there's no comparison in terms of money spent, the number of camps and all of that, and this team can come and beat India is just appalling.
Jude, how much of this is the changing of coach? Because, okay, we'll try to connect with Jude again, but how much of this comes down to chopping and changing coaches right before the tournament? Why I say this is because the senior team plays a certain way. They have a different structure, they have a different approach, and a junior team in that sense is different. Do you believe that could be one of the reasons? Because if they've trained this hard, Jude's talking about it, they can't turn bad and forget the basics of hockey overnight. So how much of this comes down to that?
I'll see it two ways. One way is that two minds are better than one. Okay, so that's being positive. And the other way around is like when I am the coach and he's the chief coach, and two coaches, they have to have they have to be on the same platform. They cannot think differently. One incident, if I later in fourth quarter, my thinking, when we were there by losing by 5-3, and they had their one player gone out with a green card. So they could have, at that time, they could have put more pressure with the goalkeeper, our goalkeeper coming out, and put in more of one more player extra. So, in my opinion,
Right.
it could have made difference, more of pressure, because other team is under a lot of pressure. Last 5 minutes and this thing, if you're even two goals up and you put pressure with 12 players up there with taking out the goalkeeper and 11 players. That time they were 10 players and we were 11. If you pulled out one goalkeeper, we could have played with this thing.
Yeah.
That
There
have
was one
made
thing you were
difference.
talking about right before we went into the show, and I can get Mr. Bhaskaran in on this, where you were talking about how at one point you saw the assistant coach BJ Karyappa show something to the players, and when Graham Reed walked in, went there, he started trying to explain it to him. So, Mr. Bhaskaran, how much of this then comes down to the understanding between the coaches and the coach who's been sort of coaching the team for 2 years, and then a senior coach comes in? Because I'll give you an example of the Spain's national coach. Max Caldas is sort of the assistant coach of this junior side. So, you always leave it to the coach who knows these players well, and let the senior coach who's come in probably just sort of add to the strategy and the tactics. But a coach who knows his players well, knows their roles well, that's very important. Do you believe that that is one of the reasons, Mr. Bhaskaran?
Well, I think the priority of this World Cup, handing over the entire realm of 2 months period from Karyappa at the Bangalore camp, I was wondering, maybe Graham must be thinking of the next Olympics, fill up the blanks, and maybe not much time was given to read about the other opponents, especially France, because he being an Australian and he has played in Europe and I coached Europe. I wonder that the players also on the same platform. Even Karyappa was what must have been a great shock, because the pool was made much earlier, and yes, they would not have seen France playing earlier. But France has always been a good forward line. They have a good stick work period. They have a very small pool of players. But coming back to this coaching, assignments given and taken away, for the last after Jude went, I personally feel there was no very strong proper coach doing the training part at the Bangalore camp, because till 3 months back it was a senior team who were there in the Bangalore camp, being the COVID, and the women team also there. There were only one pitch, so I think they have gone to shifted the camp to some other places, But my personal feeling is that it is not about the entire coaching to be blamed, but even the players. I think, it is the amount of training there, the amount of exposure most of the. In fact, at least 5, 6 boys have played the Youth Olympics 2018 and 19, and some of the boys already in the core group of the senior camp. I think altogether, the biggest loss is that um, the 10, 15 minutes in the first half, the first quarter and the second quarter, I think the players did not, take it as a sense that we are withdrawing too much in the behind. They withdrew most of the time. I have never seen a France team playing so beautiful stick work, eliminating skill, beautiful ball movements on the both zones. And most of the attacks were from the right. 3 goals from the right cross. Outwitting the left half, left defender. Where were they? So I think it is the irony of the defenders were too soft. They did not even tackle. They were afraid to put the stick or even put the body. So I think there was nothing there. Or I thought they were not ready to do that against France. They thought that, oh, okay, हो जाएगा आज 2 goal 3 goal जीत जाएगा. So it will happen a team that too for juniors. It will happen surely when you are not ready to beat a France team. We want to beat them only by mentally before playing the game.
Right.
Okay, I'm the champion. They all have been overwhelmed by the seniors' victory into medal podium at the Olympics.
Right.
They all, yes, that's a good thinking, but I
Right.
think not before the first game.
Right. Well, I wanted to pose the same question to Jude as well. Jude, you were coaching this team till some while back. I mean, just bringing in Reid over the junior coach, does that undermine him? But not just that, what about the players themselves? How do they respond to a coach and, what his strategies are?
Okay, let me tell you, for a coach to understand a player and correct him periodically, it takes 2 years. 2 years, okay? So that's how much it takes to correct a player and to understand him and get the best out of him after 2 years. Okay, so if you go back in history, it's always seen there's this coach. It happened to Rafael when he coached the Indian team. Last moment he was removed and asked Rajgopal. Rajgopal was a great player, but definitely no coach, and he went with the team in one World Cup. Then the same thing happened the last time. I think Harinder was coaching, and then last moment Altmans came in. So see, let me be very candid here. India may win the World Cup, okay, and all our talking is going to be of no use, at least to people who don't understand. But what I'm trying to say is, you cannot be doing this kind of a thing, and have a coach come in who doesn't know the players and expect him to do wonders, So that's what is shocking, I was there, I was asked to move, and then there was another guy who was there for 2 years, and then suddenly Reid comes in. It's absolutely bullshit, You can't do this. Absolutely, you cannot do this, And I'm very open to tell this, and let the people know what's happening. It takes 2 years to know a player, and that's why. And mind you, this French team is has beaten India. That means if they all grew up the years to follow, they're going to be very confident to beat these guys again in the future.
As a senior team, but there, Jude not mincing his words, Sandeep saying clearly that this decision taken by Hockey India is completely wrong. Mr. Bhaskaran, do you want to come in? Sorry, I'm just being told you want to come in.
I think I like to add on the coaching style, because I too was a junior team coach in 94, 95. The first time India was made to qualify in Singapore Asia Cup. So we qualified and went on to play the 97 Milton Keynes, the junior team. In fact, I had about 2.5 years time. Just 2.5 years time. I had a lovely staff working under me. Same staff, support staff, physical trainer, doctor, everything. So I think the result was there in the 97 Milton Keynes Olympics and in the Milton Keynes Junior World Cup. We lost to Australia 3-2 in the finals. So I think this is what all about the coaching manual about to be more longer with them, to study more, especially in sports. It takes longer to study a player and juniors. Just imagine, we are still talking about terminology in hockey in the ground with the players who are not even following English. Sorry to say this. You know, you can, terminology is not the question how you produce players in the ground. Terminology is one thing, you say in Punjabi, piche aao, that's revert, retackle, all these stick pieces all. All those things, terminology takes a lot of time for these boys. I know most of the boys, can't communicate well with, the other coaches.
Right.
But given the time, 2 years or 2.5 years, it's the right time to have a juniors and then go with that. For example, in my 97, just imagine, Barry Dancer was junior coach. He became the national coach later on. Then we have Peters, then he went on to football from Germany. A lot of things happen when we have players. Then Brent Livermore was the captain of Junior World Cup Team 97, Australia. So this is where, we have a lovely foundation when you have a strong coach who could follow the boys and learn much better in 2 years.
Well, yes, it again comes down to just how things are being managed off the field as well, Sandeep, that we've heard so often in Indian hockey, because it wasn't just the team becoming bad overnight. And these are quotes from Graham Reed after India lost the match, where he talks of it's hard to get coordination right if the basics are not right. We gave them too many easy balls deep in our territory. Now, my question is that it's easier to say this right now after India's lost, but given how the Indian defense was completely all over the place and, they were constantly penetrating the circle, some of that responsibility lies with Graham Reed as well.
Of course it does. I think when you see a match like that, where each quarter is so starkly different from India's point of view, France played a particular methodology that they continued right through, except for those last 10 minutes where they kind of backpedaled, giving us that much of space between the midfield and their defense. Otherwise, for us, each quarter was like, this is a different way of playing, this is a different way of playing. And for Graham to now say this, their basics weren't there, is probably, you're taking a shot at the other coaches, which you shouldn't. Number one, you parachuted in, which is fine. You did that in 2016, you won the World Cup, nobody raised a question. But I also know how Harinder felt, that, Altman comes in and he starts doing all of that work. The team had performed under Harinder, it wasn't that they haven't. They did pretty well coming up and into the World Cup, and that team was also very solid. I mean, those boys were very good. Look how they have performed later on even. So the training was there, the foundation was there.
Absolutely.
Yes, I don't buy and I don't agree with this coach being parachuted in. I constantly give this example of Houston University, where Carl Lewis is actually the assistant coach of the track team. And the guy who won a relay gold is the chief coach of the track team. And this has been going on for 3-4 years. So, it's about how much you look at a coach who's been with a team and somebody who just come, not through the back door, let's not put it that way, but comes in this early and then tries to change things around.
Also, the difference that we saw, Romeo, isn't that so? I mean, from the first quarter to the last quarter, as Jude was also mentioning, if that team can play like that in the last quarter, where was the same team in the first quarter?
That's why you've got to be patient. If you believe in yourself, all the top teams, they know when to attack and when to defend. Okay, when they are attacking, you backpedal and you defend properly, and you go counter. And when you're in full flow, then you should be, if their defense is properly set, you have to not to hit the ball inside, which they were doing it. And if you see Graham Reed, one of the second reaction was, oh no. So just rotate the ball and you will get the gaps in between. And I look at it differently.
How do you look at it?
Two posts. I try to hit two posts, and one, that guy, the captain saved.
Captain saved. We've been forgetting his name, Timothy Clement. Yes.
Timothy Clement saved.
Yes.
And then
that was a brilliant save from him.
And then two soft goals by one by Prashant and one by Pawan. So I look at and we lost first game in Olympics also against Australia, and we lost it here.
Yeah,
So
so
we can
you're,
pick up,
you're
pick up
looking
the
at it more like a
Yeah.
game of lost chances, and India couldn't capitalize as
Yeah,
much. And
other-
also, I think when you've given 5 goals away to the opposition, it's difficult to come back. But Mr. Bhaskaran, what now for the Indian team? Okay, looks like both Mr. Bhaskaran and Felix, Jude Felix, have decided to leave us. So we'll let them go. But just coming back to now what India needs to do against Canada. Canada have already lost their opening game against Poland. So now it'll come down to India wanting to bounce back in this. They've been stunned. Obviously, they've had the time to sort of look back at what went wrong, regroup, but how do they bounce back?
I think you're going to see a very different side today. I think they'll be more controlled. Let's put it that way. They're not going to go all out. They have learned what they can from France, and they are probably hurting really badly now. I mean, you can see it on the players' faces and all that. They never expected it, and they never actually understood what was happening till late in the fourth quarter. Till late. I mean, if you just compare both the captains, like Bhaskaran said, and Jude even, both of them are playing very different. I mean, it almost looked like Vivek wasn't there. And you want him to be the fulcrum. You want him to be the core, the pivot of the team, who rotates everything, who's the guy. He should be the one who's distributing. But when you look at Canada and Poland, I do expect them to have easy wins and then book their quarterfinal place, which now looks like a good match between India and Belgium.
Yeah, and also looks like, Romeo, this was the wake-up call, probably you can say, that the team needed. You get that in the first match, you kind of know what to do from there on. There is no place for complacency. There is, you need to look up.
All these guys are professionals. They have been, be a junior team, they have been together for the last 3 years.
Right.
And they won Asia Cup and other Azlan Shah Junior, Jor Baru, and other Youth Olympics also. They are professionals, so I think they should get over it and take match to match.
Yeah. What was it? What is it that Vivek Sagar Prasad can do in this game that he didn't do in the last?
No, he just needs to come and hold the game and control it, and that's what they do in the Olympics. That's what they do at the World Cup. Just one small example, the last time we played the Champions Trophy, which incidentally was the last Champions Trophy, Harinder was the coach. Vivek had a fantastic tournament. The moment he used to be thrown into the middle, he was the guy who was controlling, holding the ball, looking to the left, right, where to distribute it. That's where the whole game lies. Hockey is, you can always have great defenders and goalkeepers and forwards, but it is the pivot who actually holds everything, like football sometimes, you have all of that. Vivek needs to come in and control. He's the one the other guys will be looking up to. He's got a bronze medal at the Olympic Games. He may be short in height, but the guy's got a big heart. He's massively a big player. And any player who goes to the Champions Trophy and plays a final like that against Australia is huge. I mean, look, and that's what he needs to do now. And I think he also must have thought about this, what's really went wrong. Honestly, my analysis is very simple here. They never thought this was France. First quarter, second, third. By the time it was fourth, actually that 2-5 lead destroyed India so much in the middle. If it was one goal less or a couple of goals, maybe they would have just gone and scampered over with one winning margin. But this was
I think by the time they could regroup and bounce back, they'd just been...
Even Vivek started coming into a kind of a form, if you can call it, only in the last 15 or the last quarter probably.
Well, like I said, maybe the wake-up call, just the wake-up call that India needed going deep into this tournament. But Sandeep, thank you so much. Romeo James here, also Jude Felix and Mr. V. Bhaskaran. That's it from us. India play Canada, and hopefully it'll be a much better performance than what we saw against France. We'll keep getting you all the updates from the Junior Hockey World Cup, also the cricket series that is on between India and New Zealand. So keep watching our channel. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.